last class. We spoke about the effect of lowering condenser pressure. Now, why do we want to lower condenser pressure? Well, we know that within the saturation dome, pressure is related to temperature, right? And so if you decrease the pressure, the temperature also goes down, and we are decreasing T low. So again, from efficiency formula, 1 minus T low by T high or TH, we are trying to reduce this T low, right? One way of increasing the efficiency. Okay, so let's have a look. So we have two different condenser pressures here for the same cycle. The blue line that exists now is your base case where we have the condenser operating at atmospheric pressure, right? And the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. But we have another case where we sort of reduce the condenser pressure to a pressure much lower than atmospheric pressure, and let's say this is operating at 50 degrees Celsius. Now, when we reduce the condenser pressure, of course, the saturation temperature, the temperature here, from 3 dash to 2 double dash is also lower, right? Instead of 100 degrees Celsius, you're at something below 100 degrees Celsius, let's say 50 degrees Celsius, right? And just by decreasing the temperature of heat rejection, we are able to increase the thermal efficiency of the cycle. Okay, so yes, when we decrease the condenser pressure, we have to provide a little bit more heat input, but we get much more work output out of this change, right? So it's sort of a beneficial thing that we are doing. I mean, slightly more heat input, but much more work output that we can get, and the overall efficiency increases simply by reducing the temperature at which heat is being rejected. Okay, now the question is, well, how low can we go in terms of the pressure? So we said the pressure and temperature are sort of related. Okay, so we have to ensure that the water in the condenser is at a temperature which is higher than the temperature of the ambient, so that it can reject heat to the ambient, right? That is mainly how heat transfer happens. It happens through heat. It happens through temperature difference, right? If you don't have a temperature difference, heat transfer cannot happen. So for us to maintain that, we just have to ensure that the temperature that we have here, once we reduce the condenser pressure, it's higher than the ambient temperature. Okay, so the T sat at condenser pressure at peak condenser should be higher than the T ambient. As long as you maintain that, it's perfectly good, right? And so that sets the lower limit to the condenser pressures that we can achieve. Now, it's all very good. We can increase the efficiency. We are sort of limited by the temperature of the surroundings, but the temperature of the surroundings are much smaller than 100 degrees Celsius. So certainly we are able to reduce the pressure quite a bit and achieve good increase in the thermal efficiency of the cycle. Now, when you look at the role of a condenser in a power plant, it basically plays two roles. One of the major things that it does is that having a condenser allows us to operate at a pressure which is much lower than atmospheric pressure, right? So it's allowing, if you did not have the condenser, then we would have to, reject the water to maybe a lake or some water body, and that would need to happen at 1 atmospheric pressure, which is not really ideal, right? Our heat rejection temperature would be very high, which will bring down our efficiency. Now, since we are not rejecting it to a lake or some water body, since we are recycling it and making it go through some sort of a closed component, we can play around with the pressure and reduce the pressure, make the condenser operate at a pressure which is much lower than the atmospheric pressure. Okay, so this is one of the major advantages of having a condenser in there. The other advantage certainly is that it allows us to use the water, the working fluid, in a closed loop, meaning you don't have to provide in huge quantities of water every time. You can just use it in a closed loop. It just goes around within a closed loop, and it saves a lot of cost. I mean, the water that you need here is not the water that we drink, right? It's a demineralized water, so you have to remove all the minerals in there to avoid any sort of corrosion or any sort of reactions at high temperature. So the condenser does a pretty good job in ensuring that we are able to operate in a closed loop, as well as we are able to operate a condenser at a pressure which is lower than the atmospheric pressure. But as with anything in life, any change you make will have some side effects. Okay, so lowering the condenser pressure is good in terms of increasing the thermal efficiency, but it also increases the moisture content. So if you look at this again, okay, so let's say we have this condenser pressure here, and let's say we're starting from some point here. This is where it comes down to. Okay, so this is the exit point towards the exit of the turbine. All right. Now, if you reduce the pressure, okay, we end up somewhere here, 2 dash. Now, the quality at 2 dash, it's smaller than the quality at 2. All right. And this is again sort of a limitation. It limits to how low can you go with the pressures, right? Because as we have discussed before, steam turbines or the turbine blades do not like moisture. Okay, so too much moisture can damage them. So the two things that limit how low we can go with the condenser pressure are the moisture content that you have at the exit of the turbine and the ambient conditions, right? The ambient temperature. Of course, you may also have the problem that, since we are operating at a pressure which is lower than the atmospheric pressure, some air may leak into the condenser. But this is some sort of a problem that you can deal with very easily. Okay, you can just use a good sealant and fix it. But you cannot really fix the problem with the moisture content, nor can and you sort of limited certainly by ambient temperature, which is not a huge problem, but yes, it's a limit that's there. So this is one. This is what we had discussed primarily in the last class. Any questions here?
Doctor.
Yes.
So we should lower the pressure in the condenser, or is it considered as an issue?
No, we should certainly lower it. But what I'm saying is that there's a limit to how low we can go. Okay. So undoubtedly, it is lower than atmospheric pressure for sure. The question is how low can you go? So if atmospheric pressure is 1 bar, so the question is, can you go down to 0.5 bar or can you go down to 0.1 bar? So how low can you go? It depends on the ambient conditions and it depends on where you start. So it depends on the moisture content that you achieve here. So these are two concerns which limit the pressure we can reach, but surely it's the condenser pressure is lower than 1 bar or 1 atmospheric pressure in all power plants that we have in operation. Is that clear now?
Yes, clear, Doctor.
All right, thanks. Okay, so then let's look into the other option. Okay, one option was to lower the temperature. The other option obviously is to increase the high temperature of heat addition, right? So we said we already played with reducing the temperature of heat rejection. Now the temperature of heat addition, we said, well, we can increase it, right? And one simple way of increasing it is simply by increasing the boiler pressure. Okay, so again, you can have a look at this TS diagram. We are having fixed condenser pressures, but we're having two different cycles with different boiler pressures. Okay, so initially, let's say this is some boiler pressure. Let's say this is 80 bar. Okay, and then you consider another cycle where you increase the boiler pressure a bit. Okay, let's say we reach 100 bar, much higher boiler pressure. Okay, now when you increase the boiler pressure, what we are actually doing is we are increasing the average temperature of heat addition. All right, so if you look at this 4 dash to 1 dash, the temperature during this process is much higher than the temperature during 4 to 1. Okay, so if I look at this red line, and if you calculate the temperature at each state and take an average, it's obviously higher than the temperature for the green line. All right, I mean, there's a huge gap in here because of higher saturation temperatures corresponding to higher saturation pressures. Okay, so simply by increasing TH, or the temperature at which heat is being added, we can increase the efficiency. All right, and this is another very good way of doing that. This also has some limits to how high we can go with the temperature. Okay, so one thing that you can notice is that as you change the pressure, or as you increase the pressure in the boiler, the temperature for sure increases, but the quality at the end of the turbine, at the end of expansion, sort of reduces, right? So the quality at 2 dash, which corresponds to a higher boiler pressure, is less than the quality at 2. Okay, I mean, that's something that you can see here, right? So yes, we can go to high pressures, but it's sort of limited by how high you can go. How high you can go is limited by what the quality is. All right. So again, the reason why we want to have high quality is simply because when you go to when you have X values, let's say less than 0.65 or 0.7, we are having about 30% mass of liquid water, right? And liquid water is not so good for the turbine blades because it can cause a lot of erosion of the turbine blades. It can chip off metals, and it can basically, in simple terms, it can bring down its lifetime. And turbine blades are one of the costliest components in your entire power plant. So you don't want to, those are very delicate. You don't want to do anything that can damage them or that can bring down their lifetimes, because then it'll just make the power plant very costly to operate. Okay, so these are the two options that we have. So to summarize, we said we discussed two options, right? Going back to this efficiency formula, 1 minus T low by T high. We discussed the first option where we were reducing the condenser pressure, and the reduction of condenser pressure allowed us to reduce the temperature at which heat was being rejected. We said, yes, this is very good, and we can keep reducing the condenser pressures, but there's a lower limit to that, and it's sort of limited by the steam, by the quality of steam at the end of the expansion stage, all right, in the final stages of the turbine. And we simply don't want very low quality because it can damage turbine blades. Similarly, when we spoke about the other option, which is to increase the temperature of heat addition, we said we could achieve that by increasing boiler pressure. Okay, and this also is going to increase the thermal efficiency, but there's also an upper limit here, and the upper limit is again dictated by the steam quality that exists during expansion. We don't want to go to very high pressures, or we are not able to go to very high pressures where the steam quality can go below 0.6, 0.65 at the end of the expansion stage, because again that can damage the turbine blades. So these are two promising solutions, but they're sort of limited by how far up can we push the boiler pressure and how far low can we push the condenser pressure. So can you think of any modification, or can you suggest any modification that will allow us to, remove these or maybe reduce the effect of these limitations? The limitation with moisture content, that is.
To make it superheated vapor.
Exactly.
Close to superheated.
Perfect.
Yes, or quality like 0.9 or greater than 0.9, something like this.
Yep, exactly. That's the exact simple solution, right? So yes, you have, let's say this is the boiler pressure. So instead of stopping at saturated vapor state, just superheat it. And once you superheat it, you're anyway increasing the quality. So there are basically two modifications that are typically implemented to avoid all that problem that we are facing with the low quality of steam during the end of the turbine expansion stages. So one modification is what is called as superheat, as Turki just mentioned. And the other modification is what is called as reheat. We will talk about these two in a bit, starting with superheat. There's also lastly another modification which is called a supercritical cycle, where we operate at pressures higher than the critical pressure of water, right? So basically higher than 220.6 bar.